So Minions: The Rise of Gru is the fifth film in the Despicable Me franchise. It is a sequel to 2015's Minions, but it is also a prequel to the Despicable Me trilogy. And right off the bat, before I give you all my thoughts on this film and, before I let you all know how I felt in regards to Minions: The Rise of Gru, I will first begin by telling you all what my relationship is with this franchise. When it comes to the first Despicable Me film, I remember really enjoying it. That said, I haven't seen this film in a while, so I don't really know if I enjoyed it because it was genuinely good or just because I was a child. And, when you're a child, your standards of quality are a lot lower, I guess. Same goes for the second Despicable Me film. I remember really enjoying that one when it came out in theaters. But once again, I don't know. I don't know if it's really because it's good or just because I was a child. That said, when 2015 Minions came out, I think that was the turning point for me, and I really hated that film. I hated 2015 Minions. I thought it was insufferable and just, such a cash grab and, so soulless and so plain and so shallow. I absolutely hated that movie. Same with Despicable Me 3. I really, really, really hated that film. Therefore, when they announced they were making a new film, that it was going to be a sequel to 2015's Minions, and when I heard that pretty much the same team who worked in the first Minion film was coming back for the second one, I don't know, my expectations weren't that high. My expectations were extremely low, if I'm being honest. I was pretty much expecting a film just as bad as the first one. That said, coming into this film, I came in with an open mind, even though it was pretty much the same team, and even though my expectations were rock bottom. I was hoping that maybe I was wrong, and I was hoping that maybe this film would surprise me and would show me that I was missing something all this time about the Minions. That wasn't the case. My expectations were met exactly where I had them. I think the best way I could put it is, if you saw the trailer for Minions: The Rise of Gru, and you were entertained by the trailer, and you thought the trailer was funny and great, then good for you. Go watch this film, you're gonna love it. But if you saw the trailer and you were like, yikes, this looks like another painful 1 hour and 30 minutes, then it's not going to be for you. Now, the first element of the movie that I would like to touch upon is the story. And the main thing I will say is that the story in this film, it just doesn't matter. The story doesn't matter. The story in this film is just something that gets in between minions talking gibberish and making fart noises. It's not important. It's not special. There's absolutely nothing special about the story. It's just a device for minions to make their silly little jokes and make their silly little faces and make their silly little expressions. But it doesn't matter. It's time I touch upon my second element and the second thing that I want to talk in regards to this film. And that thing is the minions. And in regards to the minions, I don't know. I find them extremely annoying. I used to find them very charming, and I used to like them a lot in the first and the second Despicable Me film. That said, not anymore. In the past couple of years, the market has been so saturated with minions, and minions have been shoved down our throats everywhere that I just can't stand them anymore. I find them egregious, and I find them, very, very annoying. I think minions, as characters, they work best in small doses, like in Despicable Me 1 and in Despicable Me 2. They are secondary characters. They don't have their own storylines. They are just characters that you see in the background doing silly little things and doing slapstick humor, but they are not the focus of the film. And that is the reason why the first two Despicable Me films work and why the Minions work in those films. But that's not the case in 2015 Minions or in Minions: The Rise of Gru. Minions are front and center, and these characters that are a lot better as secondary characters and that are a lot better in small doses, they are the focus of the film, and it just becomes tiresome. It becomes very tiring, and it becomes very, very annoying, at least for me. Now, the next element that I would like to discuss when talking about this film would be the villains. And in regards to the villains, okay, I guess I should begin with the positives. And in terms of the positives, I think the villains have some great designs. I think they are very inventive, very imaginative. I think their abilities are really cool. And, in a better film, these villains could have been great. There's one villain that I would like to highlight, and that is a villain that is literally a nun. There's literally a nun who levitates. I thought she was cool. I thought she was, by far one of the best part of the films. That said, even though the villains are visually interesting and have some cool abilities, they are just so dull, so surface level, and so one-dimensional that it is... I don't think there's even a point in having them in the film. They're just there. After having watched the movie, I would honestly say that I know absolutely nothing about any of them. they're just placeholder villains. They're just villains that come here, do villainous stuff, and that's it. And, it gets even more frustrating because after I saw this film, I was like, yeah, villains were forgettable, but, that's it. It's fine. It's a Minions film. What was I expecting? But then I opened IMDb and I started reading about the actors that play those villains in the film. And I realized that some of those villains are played by Jean-Claude Van Damme, who was an action star from the 90s, who, acted in films such as Street Fighter and other action films from the decade. You have Dolph Lundgren, who is most famous for playing Ivan Drago in Rocky IV. And you also have Danny Trejo, who is Machete himself, acting in this film, voicing these villains. And, this is a very fun group of actors. I can see a better director, a better script, and a better movie doing some great things with these three actors coming together to voice villains. But that is not what this movie does. Like, I am not exaggerating when I say that each of these characters have, at most, 3 lines of dialogue. Like, I honestly don't think I'm exaggerating. What a waste. What a waste of these actors. What a waste of these character designs. They were just nothings. They amount to nothing. It was very, very frustrating. But once again, it's Minions: The Rise of Gru. What was I expecting? They gave me exactly what I thought I was going to get. So yeah, I guess my overarching thoughts in regards to Minions: The Rise of Gru is that this was a very bad film. And I know what you may be thinking. You might be thinking, like, Juan, come on, it's a children film. Like, don't be so harsh. You're not the target audience. This movie's made for children. Just, take a chill pill. Enjoy it for what it is. And first of all, I'll just make it very clear. I hate that excuse. I hate that every time that a dumb movie comes out, people defend it by saying, oh, it's just for children. Don't worry about it. It's just for children. What does that mean? Does that mean that, when something is made for children, then it's okay for it to be bad? Then it's okay for it to be rubbish? No. No. Just because a movie is made for children doesn't mean it has to be trash. Take, for example, Pixar and Disney animated films. These studios have shown us time and time again that you can make children films that are entertaining and enjoyable for people of all ages, not just 4-year-olds who laugh at fart jokes. And they have also shown us time and time again that you can make films for children that are just as smart as the films that are quote-unquote made for adults. Minions: The Rise of Gru is not one of these films. It is not enjoyable for people of all ages, and it is extremely dumb. So yeah, the film sucked. I don't know what to say. It was exactly what I was expecting. It was just as bad as the first Minion films. I didn't like it. I thought it was a very, very bad film. That said, even though the movie sucked, the experience of watching it, now that's something completely different. The experience was really fucking great. I don't know if you've been in the internet in the past couple of weeks, but there are some memes making the rounds in the Instagrams, in the different social media platforms, and these are memes of people saying that they are gonna go watch Minions: The Rise of Gru, fully dressed up, wearing suits and ties, and the memes are funny. I like the memes. I think they're great. I think they're harmless. That said, I never expected that these memes would actually translate into real life. Whenever I started seeing these memes, I was like, haha, yeah, this is funny, but this is something that's going to live exclusively on the internet, and nothing's really going to happen in real life. Boy, was I mistaken. Yesterday, at 7 p.m., I went to watch Minions: The Rise of Gru, and holy... I was buying a taco. I was buying a freaking taco, waiting for the film to begin. I was standing outside the theater, peacefully waiting for my taco, and then I just start seeing groups and groups of teenagers going up the escalators, fully dressed, wearing suits and ties, all going towards the movie. And at that point, I knew that those people were gonna watch Minions: The Rise of Gru, and that I was in for an experience that I would never forget. So yeah, after I got my taco, great taco by the way, I went into the theater and first of all, it was packed. But it wasn't just packed by little children and families. It was also packed by teenagers, fully dressed up, that were cheering and clapping because they were gonna watch Minions: The Rise of Gru. I couldn't believe what was happening, but f*** it, I was in for the ride. So the movie began, and as soon as the movie began, people started clapping. As soon as the Illumination logo appeared, people started cheering. And the first time when Gru appeared on screen and when they introduced this character, people lost their fucking minds. I felt like I was leaving on the Twilight Zone. Like, what what is happening? How is Minions: The Rise of Gru the movie that makes people clap and cheer in a movie theater? Anyways, the film eventually ended. I was very torn. A part of me was telling me the film was absolute trash, but another part of me was just completely mesmerized by the insane behavior of moviegoers that were taking Minions: The Rise of Gru extremely seriously and as if it was like this very prestigious, incredible experience. As soon as the movie ended, people started standing up and clapping and cheering, and they gave Minions: The Rise of Gru a freaking standing ovation. That's the world we live in, I guess. So yeah, coming back into my thoughts about this film and wrapping up this whole review, as a cult experience, as a cult film experience, Minions: The Rise of Gru was a lot of fun. As a movie, though, this film was not good. And if I were to give it a score, I would give it a 3 out of 10, which means I think this film was very, very bad. But yeah, that was my review of Minions: The Rise of Gru. If you go watch it, let us know what you think. If you go watch it wearing a suit and a tie, good for you. I hope you have fun. I hope other people join you and clap and cheer. But yeah, fascinating experience, but terrible film.